Hey everybody, it's Pastor Scott from Oak Ridge Community Church. Glad that you joined us for another episode of Theology and Culture. Our next two videos, we're going to talk about deconstructionism and reasons why people are leaving the faith and how, as a Christian, we should respond when we see people walking out the church doors for various reasons. In fact, over the last few years, there's been a lot of talk about people who have left the Christian faith. John Steingard, the former lead singer of Hawk Nelson, is one of those who has renounced their faith. Also, Josh Harris, a former pastor and author of the book, I Kiss Dating Goodbye. And these are just two of many who have chosen to jettison their beliefs in Christianity. And we're going to talk a little bit about why people do that and how we should respond to that. In fact, there are reasons people throw out for people taking this, what we call deconstruction path, and we will define that word momentarily. One of those reasons, for example, has to do with the mass graves of children connected to a Catholic school in Canada that was closed in the 1970s. Sadly, the entire story of those graves was not told by the media. Now, it is a tragedy with what happened with these children, but for some, they use this as a jump-off point to leave behind the Christian faith. There were the Crusades of many centuries ago in which European Christians went to the Holy Land to take back Jerusalem and other key cities from the Muslims. Now, no doubt some Christians were involved, but as a whole, those who were true to the Word of God did not participate in the Crusades. This is fact. Popes and people of wealth were usually the ones that put the Crusades together. Another reason why people say they no longer can believe in Christianity is that they look at the God of the Old Testament as bloodthirsty and ruthless. He told the Israelites to drive the nations from the Promised Land. That's another discussion for another day. In fact, it's part of an upcoming message series we're going to do at Oak Ridge. We're going to tackle the, quote, problem of the God of the Old Testament. Sadly, the Christian church has made mistakes over the centuries, but to completely say goodbye to what someone once claimed to believe because of failures by some is, to me, comparable to saying that all doctors are bad if you happen to have one. It doesn't seem to be doing a very good job. When it comes to defining deconstructionism or deconstruction, it is not an easy word to define. People look at it differently and use it in various ways. But John Bloom describes deconstruction when it comes to how it is being used by some in the church in the following way. Quote, deconstruction is a critical dismantling of a person's understanding of what it means to be an evangelical Christian, and in some cases, a refusal to recognize as authorities those perceived as occupying privileged evangelical institutional positions who, quote, supposedly speak for God. What we're going to focus on is the first part of Bloom's definition, which is deconstruction is a critical dismantling of a person's understanding of what it means to be an evangelical Christian. We're going to talk about that, and we're going to talk about how we, those of us that are strong in our faith and are committed to the historic Christian beliefs, how that we can respond to them. This dismantling of someone's faith, I believe, is seen in the growing belief, for example, of theistic evolution, where the story of Genesis 1 through 3 is challenged as historical fact. I think this has led to many, quote, Christians wondering about whether we can trust the Bible and what it has to say. Some who have left the faith have turned to atheism. The reasons behind why they jettison what they believe is ultimately on them. But in many cases, I believe, they did not put in the time and effort. Those who, quote, deconstructed, they didn't put in the time and effort to examine historic Christianity and its claims. They were also unwilling to recognize this, that not all Christians are hypocrites. This is one of the arguments, that the church is full of hypocrites looking to hurt others. That's not necessarily the case. In fact, I would argue that most Christians that I know, we do fumble, we do sin, but we are not hypocritical in telling somebody one thing and purposely doing something else. I think most Christians that I know desire to honor the Lord with their life. People who choose this road of deconstruction remind me of Demas, a man mentioned in 2 Timothy chapter 4, verse 10, who it says abandoned Paul and headed off to the city of Thessalonica, kind of an ancient Las Vegas. He left behind what he believed to pursue the things of the world. I want to finish this video with a thought on how we should respond to people who tell us they are leaving Christianity or rethinking whether they can accept it any longer as being true. I'm going to give you one point as we close, and then we'll continue this in our next video. So let's start with this point. When someone abandons the faith or is thinking of abandoning the faith, we need to show grace. This does not mean that we just let them go their way. Ephesians chapter 4, verse 29 tells us that we're to speak words that fit the occasion and give grace. So sometimes that means being tender. Sometimes that means being tough. We're never to be belligerent, and we're to seek wisdom from God on what we are to say to these people. And we're going to continue in the next video, so tune in on other ways that we should respond to those that are thinking of walking away from the Christian faith. Thanks for joining me. This is Scott from Oak Ridge Community Church. Have a great day.